Hey, welcome back, guys. Power's 8th episode was every bit as crazy as they promised it would be. And for more reasons than just the big death in the episode's climax. We learned a myriad of new information that ensures this will be one of the craziest finishes to any Power season thus far. I'm here to break it all down in typical Top 10 WTF fashion. Before we begin, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and bell notification to immediately receive these videos. Also, big thank you to all of my channel donors. If you'd like to be the next one, drop $1 on that Cash App for us. And lastly, a spoiler alert is now in effect for all things Power. Here we go. WTF moment number 10, adoption orders. Daniel Warren, the caretaker of Ghost's estate and the latter's mouthpiece by proxy, pays Tariq an unexpected visit following his first day at trial. He informs Reek that his baby sister Yasmin has been adopted by a lovely family, and that James left specific orders for the final offspring in his bloodline, including having her last name changed to protect her from whoever may have wiped out the St. Patrick lineage. Ghost further instructed that the adoption records be sealed, so once she's gone, she can never be found. This update flabbergasted Tariq to his core, as his father's intricate handling of his business, even from the grave, superseded Tariq's own comprehension and personal plight, something that left lingering questions in the developing St. Patrick's psyche. Additionally, Yasmin's adoption and concealment officially eliminates Tariq's chances of custody, and even worse, redemption. I'll be further dissecting this moment and the legendary Ghostman himself in the next one, so stay tuned. WTF moment number 9, the truth in the bushes. Diana overhears Monet's conversation with Mecca and decides to investigate further. She searches through Monet's things, uncovering a small Bible with a hospital name in the front and a baby picture towards the back. Behind the photograph is the name of her cousin, Ezekiel Cross, ironically found in the book of Ezekiel as well, but more on that later. Then, Diana complicates her findings by calling the hospital, uncovering yet another secret that she would convey in grand fashion over an explosive family dinner. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. WTF moment number 8, wire revelation. Davis meets with Tariq and expresses the gravity of the bomb dropped in court by the prosecution regarding that secret recording damning his client's freedom chances. With a slick look and even slicker exit, Davis encourages Tariq to listen in on the evidence. Once engaged, Tariq immediately identifies the culprit against him, and it's none other than the woman he trusted most. Shocked and dismayed by the new information, Tariq storms out Davis's office, with Sax trailing behind to advise Tariq against anything too St. Patricky. A funny tidbit, might I add. Sax then accidentally slips in his efforts and exposes Carrie's role as well in Tariq's legal woes. WTF moment number 7, wellness check. Carrie gets an emergency call from Jenny during her class, and she's frantically notified about Tariq's potential knowledge of Lauren's role in the case and upcoming testimony. Carrie bolts for Lauren's dorm room as a wellness check/precaution. However, much to her surprise, she's confronted by Little Ghost himself, already planted in Lauren's residence. Tariq scolds his devious professor for manipulating Lauren and ultimately putting her in danger. Then, he offers her an alternative: take the stand and testify in Lauren's place in order to protect her life. Carrie apprehensively agrees upon absorbing Tariq's ghost-like reading of her transgressions against the very oath she stands on as an educator and student advocate. Or at least she should stand on. WTF moment number 6, cross evisceration. Carrie arrives at the courthouse and confirms that she can take the stand in Lauren's place due to undisclosed prior knowledge of Jabari's novel Centerpiece. On the stand, Jenny questions Carrie for the prosecution, to which she attempts to further incriminate her mysterious pupil. The sparks really fly, however, once Davis and the defense get rolling. McLean inquires about Carrie's sexual history with the participants of the case, eradicating her credibility before the court once Zeke's name enters the extensive fold. Her affair with the star basketball player contradicted her prior declaration to the prosecution about, quote, never harming a student for personal gain, definitively hammering the final nail in her well-overdue coffin. Davis did promise to eviscerate during cross, didn't he? WTF moment number 5, the heist. Following their meetup on the heist plans against Mecca, the robbery is officially initiated once the power is cut at Mecca's compound. As devised, the GTG entered, guns blazing. Many of them are slain in the process, while a few get their hands on some G-Packs in between the chaos. Effie, Brayden, Drew, and Guap do their parts as well, securing entry into Mecca's fortress to further execute the plot. WTF moment number 4, Guap in peace. Drew infiltrates the facility with Guap, tolerating his annoyances along the way to his final resting place, unbeknownst to the foolish underling, of course. As a peace offering, Guap gifts Drew with the shiny new grill and some cash. Drew rebuffs these trinkets shortly afterwards, though, by pulling his gun on the clueless gang lord. Following a brief scuffle, the two end up in a similar position to their first season altercation, where Drew nearly killed him for endangering Zeke. On the contrary here, Drew follows through with disposing of his nemesis, not by gunshot, but by asphyxiation. This state of affairs proved more personal than a simple bullet, because you really meant that shit when you choke him out until their spirit exits the building. Plus, the vicious nature of the kill only pushed Drew further towards his Corleone-inspired story arc. WTF moment number 3, nuclear dinner. Diana prepares dinner for the family while everyone's out plotting and executing said schemes. While enjoying the meal, Kane makes a slight at his sister's affection for Tariq, which leads to Diana dropping the first of many revelations against her family. She exposes Kane's role in sabotaging the Tejada's drug business, which leads to Kane snitching on Drew's failure to murk Everett. Things only heat up from there when Diana and Monet get into it. Monet drops Diana's sexual business with Tariq, which presents the perfect opportunity for Diana to fully expose Monet, including her exit plan via Zeke, affair with Dante, aka Mecca, and Monet's true relationship to Zeke, including his real age and the ramifications of it all. Perhaps most hilariously is when Diana drops Zeke's birth certificate on the dinner table like the goddamn big joker in a close spades game. Embarrassed, bewildered, and ultimately ashamed, Monet is dismissed from the Tejada family household by Lorenzo, who deserves his props for maintaining his player through the Jerry Springer-like ordeal. The Tejadas have reached the worst of times, and it's only going to downward spiral from here. WTF moment number 2, Chef to Go. A furious Mecca disposes of the remaining GTG culprits at his compound, then sets his murderous sights on the inside man responsible for the coup. Maniacally wielding his blade of choice towards Kane, he surprisingly slits the throat of his assumed-to-be right hand, Chef, and condemns him as the mole to Kane. Now, we all know Mecca's no fool, and he had his reasons for sparing his understudy. Reasons I'll address in just a moment. In WTF moment number 1, Swing Low, Sweet Carriot. While brooding over her bleak future post-exposure in court, Carrie receives an impromptu visit from an emotionally shattered Monet, searching for her now estranged son, Zeke. Carrie confirms his absence, and Monet confides in Carrie about the loss of her family due to deception. Carrie tries to console Monet's tragedies with her own, disclosing her losses due to mirror deceptions. Then, Monet comes to a major realization. As long as Carrie has influence over her oldest son, her comfort and warmth, her own position is in peril. Assessing her options rather quickly, the episode ends with Zeke finally arriving at Carrie's, only to find her lifelessly strung up from the ceiling. Her cold feet the only identifier for us viewers until the scene cuts to black. This mysterious state of affairs can only mean one of two things. A, Monet murdered Carrie and strung her up to make it look like self-deletion. Or B, Monet coerced Carrie into deleting herself to avoid a possibly worse fate. We'll hopefully learn Carrie's true death verdict in episode 9. Some lingering thoughts before we end today's video. Actually, a lot of them shits. The title of this episode was Drug Related, and it contained a premise similar to its namesake, the film Gang-Related. In Gang-Related, a movie that would serve as Tupac's last, the main characters were robbing dealers and attempting to place the blame on others as to knock dissent from their own paths following an egregious blunder. Similarly here, Tariq and his band of thieves pull off a heist against the Connect, pinning the blame of the ordeal on Lil Guap and his crew. Though they would take the fall for the robbery, quite literally in hindsight, Mecca is no fool, something I'll get to in just a minute. Diana was easily this episode's MVP. The way she sent that otherwise routine Tejada family dinner up was reminiscent of Mike himself, of Why Did I Get Married fame, that is. It was fueled not only by Monet's mounting deceptions, which she has increasingly been catching on to, but it was also inspired by her mother's heavy-handed approach to controlling her future. Diana had become disgruntled with such a state of affairs, and her blowing up the family in such an emphatic fashion played just as much into her own personal interests as it did for the Tejadas at large. One thing is for certain, she will not have that same energy whenever she meets her mother face to face again. You can book that one. While we're on the subject of Diana, it's interesting that she discovered Monet's greatest sins in the book that preaches against them, i.e., the Bible. Inside the scriptures is where she found her cousins, or should I now say brothers, name and picture. Even more profound is that the evidence was hidden in the book of Ezekiel, something that Mecca made apparent to Zeke in the last one by showing him his tattoo, Ezekiel 25:17 to be exact. That verse reads as follows, "And I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes, and they shall know that I am the Lord when I shall lay my vengeance upon them." If that verse sounds familiar, it's because you've previously been introduced to it in Quentin Tarantino's classic film, Pulp Fiction, where Sam Jackson's character recites his own rendition of the prolific stanza before executing his victims. The verse also outlines what literally took place at the Tejada family dinner table during that receipts fest led by Diana. Under that context, furious rebukes were offered up by various family members, none more damning than Diana's, of course. And the Lord's vengeance was exacted upon Monet in the form of the truth spewing from her daughter's lips. I think Mecca spared Cain's life during the robbery because, for one, his familial proximity to his fleeting lover that got away, and two, he sensed Monet's hidden hands behind the heist. Cain stated, while devising the deed with Monet and Drew, that the former needed an alibi, as Mecca would suspect her due to her drug pipeline being recently cut off. That alibi came in the form of her carnival meetup with Lorenzo. Mecca also knows that Cain and Guap have a prior association, as he met Cain along with Guap and understands their ties. While we're on Mecca, one of my most loyal subs commented recently that Mecca's endgame might be acquiring Tariq's unique set of services as his new distro. There's plenty of merit to this assertion. Mecca has previously made his desires known for being in New York, one of course being Monet, but the other is filling the power vacuum in New York's drug trade left by the fall of Ghost and Tommy's flourishing operation. Tariq would be a major addition to Mecca. Mecca may understand that Cain was involved in the heist against him, but he knows he wasn't the brains behind it. He understands Cain's limitations after all this time, and long-term thinking isn't necessarily his calling card, which is why Cain requires Mecca's tutelage in the first place. Tariq, on the other hand, embodies the very definition of the term, and Mecca will want the brains behind the operation, being an equally egotistical man who can respect such an audacious effort, even if it's against himself. I wonder if the ring that was stolen from Mecca to pay Tariq's lawyer fees is the same ring that Mecca planned to potentially propose to Monet with. Upon receiving it, Davis stated that, quote, "The lady this was made for is sure gonna be upset." He didn't say purchased for, but insinuated that the trinket was custom made. Also, Mecca's attention to it during his pleas with Monet for reconciliation further suggests bigger plans for the now stolen ring. It's gonna be even more hell to pay next week, if that's the case. And I, for one, cannot wait. Yasmin being forever hidden from her brother's grasp was a major switch in a narrative that's been defined by the latter's unrelenting efforts to redeem his transgressions against his family. Though maybe unable to fathom his son pulling the trigger on that fateful day, Ghost wasn't ignorant to what his son had become. The patriarch understood that there was no hope in turning his only son to the path of virtue, and thus put measures in place to ensure he couldn't harm his family even further. This was likely implemented following Raina's demise, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself on this point. We'll be addressing all of this in the next one. Is it me, or was Mama Baldwin choosing on Jabari from the grave? That face she made in reminiscing over the slain professor's physical appearance hilariously gave us all cause to pause. No one more than Mr. Baldwin, I'm sure. He gonna have to check that shit, or cease allowing best-selling authors over for dinner, whichever one works. That Hiding in the Bushes song by Ouija Mac and Star Fox LaFleur is arguably one of the best-placed songs in Power's history. It's right up there with Chase It by No Love Nevo, in my opinion, which was featured in Season 1, Episode 4. It's a chilling record that perfectly painted the pictures of our characters uncovering secrets against one another, specifically with Diana and Monet. Great choice on the music here. Shout out to the music supervision team over at Stars. We were promised at least one major character depth in this episode, and we were blessed with 3. The chef, who's not a chef, Lil Guap, finally, and that fine-ass, treacherous-ass Carrie Milgram. May they all guap in peace. And lastly, and perhaps most glaringly, now that Zeke has officially defected from the Tejada family, will he be viewed as a loose end by Lorenzo? How much more complicated will things get for the Tejada family if the patriarch complies with this perspective and executes things accordingly? He never really cared for Zeke anyway, when you think about it. I guess we'll have to wait and see. And that'll do it for this one. What were your thoughts on drug-related? Be sure to drop me your opinions in the comments below. As always, I thank you for watching today's video. If you liked today's video, go ahead and drop $1 on that Cash App for us, hit the like button, share it with your friends who are Power fans, and subscribe for more content such as this. This is Rudy P. Magic of Rudy P. Magic Beats, and have a blessed one until the next one. Peace, y'all.